I'm Ed Kelley, editor of The Oklahoman. It's hard not to be personal about Henry Bellmon. Life circumstances put me as a little boy in the orbit of a young, strapping wheat farmer whose families were church friends of ours. Before he was governor and changed the face of Oklahoma politics forever, he was, well, not just another guy, but he was as plainly dressed as he was plain spoken. Wearing overalls to come to the Kelleys for a Saturday night card game was sort of par for the course. His first wife, Shirley, was one of my Sunday school teachers, and their youngest daughter, Ann, was a Sunday school pal. It was about that same time, in September 1960, when I was standing on the north side of the town square in Perry, watching the annual parade that commemorated the founding of my hometown. Up walked Bellmon, then the new chairman of the Oklahoma Republican Party, who placed a faux straw hat on my head. The hat was Nixon for president. And I was hooked, not on Richard Nixon, but on politics and the history that went with it. Meantime, the Bellmon's presence at the Presbyterian Church in Perry remained strong. The morning of his inauguration as governor, before he left for Oklahoma City, he was at the church in a special prayer service for him and his family. On Sundays, it was a big deal when he and Shirley and the girls would come to church. They always sat in the same place, up front and on the left. The services started at 10:30, and sometimes the governor of Oklahoma would be nodding his head a bit by 11 o'clock. Years later, as Bellmon's political career kept ascending, my job at the Oklahoman put me in occasional contact with him. I had an inside track, but tried not to abuse it. When he was governor the second time around in the late 1980s, I was working in our office in Washington. He came to Washington occasionally and would make a bit of news. Our talks invariably would turn to Perry and Noble County. He always asked about my parents. The last time I saw him, a year ago in Enid, the first question he asked me was about my dad. 4 or 5 years ago, he and his second wife, Eloise, were in my office on a visit around Christmas time. The talk turned to his latest project, the planting of pecan trees. As Eloise pointed out, he planted a variety of trees that wouldn't reach maturation for 20, maybe even 30 years. Her point, Henry Bellmon would never live long enough to see the fruits of his labor, but lots of younger people would. For a long time, I've been one of those younger people, fortunate enough to watch over a lifetime the most upright politician I could ever imagine.